Okay, Brinna, looks like you are doing your service learning at the 10 Lives Club, and we have a series of images of the interaction between the cats, and I'm assuming these are the people that volunteer to work there. So, great opening image here. I think the thing that I really love about it is the viewer can almost kind of put themselves in the body of this hand that is extending out into the cat's area there. So really nice way to start out the project. It very much invites the viewer to become part of the frame and gets us a little bit more engaged with the image rather than just being sort of a simple bystander. Love the fact how you've got really clean, simple background here. Lots of negative space, just draws our eye exactly towards the spot where the cat and the hand come together. And then your second image here. The thing that really catches my eye in this photograph here is the way you're using the side lighting. So the lighting that's coming in from this direction here, so from this side of the frame, it's really giving a huge textural element to the photograph in this fur that is especially noticeable above his or her nose and in the forehead. And even it looks like it's kind of just illuminating this little teardrop or eye goop that's coming out of his eyes there. So again, lighting can be such a great tool to work with when you become aware of it, and especially when we're working with very textural items, and certainly in this case with the fur of the cat, we definitely see something that's super, super textural. So again, great job with that. Let's find your third shot here. Sorry about that. And your third shot, again, really clean, simple composition to all of these photographs, which really lets us come right in and focus our attention directly on the cats and pretty much nothing else. I really love the inclusion of this little orange, I don't know what it is, like a little protective device or some sort of blanket that's around the cat. The one thing I do think the fur is just a teeny bit dark here, and we could probably just lighten this up a little bit here. I just basically did a new adjustment layer, and then I'm changing the blending mode to screen, and then I invert this layer. So go to layer, invert. Whoops, where is that? Come on, where's invert? Well, what I'm going to do, I don't see it in the menu there, but to do an invert, and then why I was having trouble finding it is I just always use a shortcut, which is Command I on the keyboard. So hold the Command and the I button down, and you can now see that layer has inverted or basically turned back to the original way it was. The key here is, if you notice over on the layers palette now, we've got a mask that is black. So by selecting a white paintbrush, so we've got white in the foreground here, we've got a white paintbrush, and we just paint into this area. Now we bring out some of the details in the fur of this cat, and it allows us to experience a little bit more of that texture. And then of course we go back to the layer, and we can see exactly the spot that I painted that back on. So perfect spot to use that technique. Hopefully you try it out. There are definitely tutorials on it. I think it's like maybe module 6 or 7. We have tutorials on that. But if you're not following along, just go back and play this again. And remember, the key is inverting that new layer with a Command I shortcut. And then image 4. Love the fact that you've introduced a little bit of a human element there. Of course, those eyes, they're so wicked blue, it just pulls our attention in wickedly. The one thing, it does look like we've got a little bit of movement blur here. If we go into your file info here and check out your camera data, we see you took this at 1/15th of a second with an ISO of 200. So in this instance, I would take that ISO up to 800, and that would allow me to have my exposure at 1/60th of a second. So basically I did 2 stops of light in the ISO. So one stop is ISO 400, 2 stops is ISO 800. So I can do that now with the exposure, and we go 1/30th and then 1/60th of a second, and that would give us a little bit more frozen action. This blurring here really kind of almost makes the cat look a little bit like crazy, I guess would be the way I would describe it. So just make sure that you really dial in on that shutter setting there, because it definitely is a little bit slow and it's giving you some blurring there. Love this image. Love how you use the depth of field to focus in on the cat's claws. And it's almost like the cat's kind of like, despite the fact that it's being restricted by this device, it's almost kind of reaching out into the viewer space, almost asking it to pet it or comfort it, or maybe even play with it. But in any case, I think just having that really shallow depth of field allows us to go to the paw area here and really explore the texture and the details of it, and then kind of we're drawn to the background and sort of see this in more soft focus. So really love this shot a lot. Great technique on that. Although I'm sorry, here it looks like I did go out of order for a second. So image 5 here, again, adding that human element. And my concern always is in these type of situations that you start repeating sort of a similar type of photo. And when we repeat similar types of photos, it tends to almost like water down or dilute the aesthetic appeal of certain images. But I think this people shot is very different than that other one you showed us. And so in that case, I think, again, it's very interesting. The lighting here is really beautiful again, and certainly how the cat and the woman here are both backlit here is very aesthetically appealing to me. So I think all in all that image really works well. Again, playing around with depth of field, again, I think that's awesome. And this really feels three-dimensional here. It's almost like it's jutting right off of the computer screen for me. And I think especially having these eyes in wicked sharp focus, it really just captures our attention in a really wicked way. And I think we kind of get the playful sense of this cat here. So really well done with that image. And then the last shot here, my other concern always with people that are working with animals and some of these shelters and other places is that we get a lot of shots of animals behind bars. And I think, you've got to have some of those shots to tell the complete story about this place. But I think you've done it, very selectively here, and enough to convey a sense of the whole narrative that takes place in this place, but not to overwhelm us with a lot of repeated photos of animals behind bars. So really great job here. Love the project. The whole thing, I think, really resonates with me. And some of the images, especially the ones where you use lighting in a very effective manner, I think really make this whole project attractive to me. So great job with this, and looking forward to seeing what you come up with for your final project. Good job.